All right, my man. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Born ready.
Born ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Bridgman, but if you're watching this, you probably don't know that because it's on my Facebook page. And my partner in crime with our consulting company, TYME, is with me, Mr. Doug Serblowski, today. And we are coming on here for a new phenomenal segment that we want to deliver to you, which is Magic Pill Mondays. Yes, my friends, Magic Pill Mondays. I know they say there is no magic pill for things, but here's the thing. You remember that scene in The Matrix? Remember that scene in The Matrix where what is his
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Well, that's his character's
Keanu
name.
Reeves.
Yeah, but his character name. What is his character name? Anyway, he's sitting across from, and it's not Nemo.
Neo.
Neo. It's Nemo. Right? And he's saying to him, I've got two pills, baby. I got two pills. The blue pill.
Lawrence Fishburne's character's name is Morpheus.
Morpheus, thank you. So business owners out there today, what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be going to some amazing stuff. But today, here's the thing. We're going to give you the option of taking one of two pills. So business owners out there, you could take the blue pill. The blue pill is that you wake up tomorrow morning, everything's gone back to normal. Everything is just the same as it's always been. You live in this blissful world where you hope, you believe, you trust that exactly what you're doing today is going to be enough to get you where you'd love to be tomorrow, that everything in your business is going to go smoothly and without pain, and that everything is just going to be a dreamboat ride. That's the blue pill. You go back to pleasantly sleeping under the covers of where you're at. Or, my friends, you take the red pill. You take the red pill and you jump on this ride with my fellow consultant, Doug, and myself, and we take you into the depth of the wonderland that is business, and we explore what could be, what's possible, and what can make up some amazing elements of where you want to take your business to. So it is up to you. If you want the blue pill, then I would bet right now that this particular live isn't for you, and you should probably go and watch something else or get back at it. But if you want to take the red pill, then stick around, because today's topic is going to be phenomenal for you and really help you take the next leap in your business. So, Mr. Doug Serblowski, my fellow consultant here at TYME, what is our topic du jour as far as business goes?
This one is near and dear to me personally. It's about company culture. What does the company culture mean, and how does it help you achieve those goals of being able to spend more time working on your business than in your business? What's the difference between
so important?
What's the difference between having a bunch of employees and actually having a team? Because they're not the same thing.
No, they're not. And I think we forget about that, right? So if you're watching this right now, you're watching the replay or you're watching this live, I think a big important question to ask yourself is just quite simply, why are you stuck here? Because you were supposed to grow a team, right, Doug? You were supposed to have a team, and the world was supposed to get easier. Life was supposed to get simpler. Like, things were supposed to get easier for you. People were taking on the workload. But if you're watching this right now, I'll bet that you're in deeper than you were even before you had a team. Right? Like things are actually more challenging. In fact, you've got more responsibilities. You've got more people to catch up with. You've got more things to track on right now than you did before.
Yep.
And that comes down to this primary thing that we're talking about today, which is what again, Dougie?
Company culture. Culture of your business, however you want to put it. I mean, it's about what makes up how you do or why. I mean, it's all kind of part of it, but the way in which you deliver the goods or services that you're doing it.
Totally. So if I was a business owner right now, give me a layout as to what you would consider culture. Because I think this is a gray area for people. Like, what is company culture? What does it actually mean? Like, what does this do for me?
I mean, it's kind of for me, the best way to describe it, I think, is the prevailing attitude of the business.
Okay.
So, I've worked with a lot of businesses, and sometimes the customer is always right, and you can bend over backwards for the customer, and that's the company culture. It doesn't matter what the customer says; they're right. Fix the problem. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. it's the attitude towards the customer, but it's also the attitude towards the employees. I mean, I've personally worked in some companies where they'll hire 10 people expecting one to make it through probation.
Well, that's their just a
they're
meat
just
market
gonna
factory. Yeah.
beat on you until you crack. And if you don't crack, congratulations, you're part of the team. But it is about beating on you until you submit. And that's a particular type of culture. There's companies out there that do very well with that. It's not a company culture that I would ever work for.
Right, fair enough.
Right.
And so why is this valuable to you? What do you think? What's the reason that company culture is so important?
Well, for me, it's about understanding that there's a inherent numeric value to retraining people. So the less I have to retrain somebody, the more money I keep in my coffers.
So you're saying there's a profitability value to
there's definitely a profitability component to having a culture, but I mean, it's also, culture it touches every part of your business, right? I mean, how your staff interacts with each other, how your staff interacts with the customers.
Sure.
If you have a culture where your business, the idea is that staff treat your customers or your clients like family. Those people come into your restaurant or your place of business or your salon or, your daycare or whatever, and they feel like they're family, they're going to come more because people like to feel connected.
Right.
And you're going to keep those customers longer, and then you're going to have less advertising to do. It's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into this.
Yeah. So for me personally, I like where you're going with that, and I want to add to it in the sense that company culture, and we were talking about this before, business owners tend to focus on the 5 W's, right? The who, the what, the why, the when, and the how. Like we really focus on those things. We know when we want to achieve certain things. I want to have this much revenue by the end of Q1. I want to have this level of this much staff going by the end of Q3. Like,
why, and how you're going to achieve it, and you
map out plans, and you set goals, and you come out with these whole structures that answer the 5 W's. But for when we're talking about culture, I want to introduce what is a 6th W for me, which is the way. The way you do things as a business owner, and that filters down everywhere. Because if you're watching this right now, my guess is that either you are you have a lofty position inside the company you work for, and it's important to you to have great culture in your business, or you are the business owner yourself. You are the leader of the business yourself. And therefore what you do, the actions you take, the way you talk to people, your whole demeanor has a ripple effect. It has this whole transcendent effect, and that can influence the people around you and the way they operate. So it becomes your culture is about the way that you do the things inside your business. So as Doug was talking about, the way you hire, the way you train, the way you pursue your goals, the way you tackle challenges inside your company are all related to culture. Like we could talk about the whens. Well, I want to achieve this by this goal. That's great. We could talk about the how we're going to pull it off. Well, we're going to do X, Y, and then we're going to do Z. And you can map that out and you can plan that out. But the fact is the way that you do all those things are indicative of the way your company operates. And Doug and I are after, and our coaching clients that we have and our consulting clients, there's a specific outcome that we're looking for them, which is that we want to help them free up their time in their business, right? We want to give them back that flexibility that was often the catalyst for starting their own business in the first place. The spark that ignited their entrepreneurial fire was, yes, they want to do something great. They want to make great money and deliver value, but this has been done a number of times. They've asked people, they've polled all these different business owners, what was the predominant factor that made you want to go into business for yourself? And the overwhelming majority, 70+%, was time freedom. That's right. Now I like to call it time flexibility because not a lot of us want to actually have full-on free time, but we do want to have the flexibility to come and go as we please. Like our real goal for business owners, right, Dougie, is to help them build a company that if they didn't show up for 6 months, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, because everything's in place and it can handle itself. I mean, they're there. they no longer have to work the till or work the grill or, you know, whatever. I mean, enter the code. Like, you know,
Yep.
that's not your job anymore, right? Your job is to now go, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years, and how do I get there?
That's
Start
right.
the next project. You've got a team around you, a team, not a bunch of employees, but a legitimate team that can run the business for you day to day in the way that you want it done, with the right attitude, with the right mindset. All of this is part of your company's culture.
And that's why it's so darn important, you guys. If you're watching this right now, right, that's why it's so darn important, is to have a great company culture. Because without that great company culture, then people will tend to behave at their basis level. Like they'll just do whatever motivates them more than anything else. They're going to do what, you know, they're going to show up. They may or may not make some progress in what they're doing, and then they're going to leave. You know, one of the key indicators for a company that doesn't have great culture, and I think you probably agree with me, Doug, is their staff turnover rate, as you were talking about before,
super high,
far too high for their industry.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes their turnover rate is not that high, but it's because there's problems in other areas, right? They're not turning their staff over. That's because they're not holding their staff to a higher standard.
So there's a complacency inside the team.
So there's a complacency inside.
That's a culture issue too, right?
But that's a culture issue as well.
Sure.
So the one of the big indicators of having a serious problem with your company culture, the biggest one that I've ever seen anyways, is that you have a lack of quality people in your company. Because quality people are looking for a good culture that they get along with, that holds to their ideals, that holds to their values, so that they can feel like they're going to help that company grow, and that company is going to help them grow as well.
Nice. So by quality people, how would you define that though? Because that's pretty subjective. Like when you're looking, so if you're a business owner sitting in a chair interviewing somebody, how do you know if they're a quality person? Because anybody can BS somebody, let's be honest, right? So how do you know they're a quality person?
So I've been in charge of hiring and firing in a lot of the companies that I worked for kind of coming up. And the one thing that I kind of got really used to is you can't tell. You can't tell looking at somebody. I mean, they can have all the right credentials. They can, I mean, you have to ask them some questions that get them talking about themselves and kind of see where their ideals are and where their values are. But the biggest lesson that I learned was to not get tied to the, to not let my personal ego get tied to the idea that I'm the best at hiring people. I'll hire people and then I will try to work with them. And if they turned out that they were full of shit, I'll know within 3 months. I get 3 months because we live in Canada. You know, I get 3 months to decide whether they're good for the company or not. I'll know inside of 3 months. You can't bullshit me for 3 months straight. So I'll know inside of 3 months, and I'll fire you if you're not. And I'll hire somebody else. So I got really good at identifying people that I wanted to, that I thought I might want to work with in the interview process. But for me, it was, now I'm going to train you. Now I'm going to work closely with you. And I'm going to figure out who you are over the next 6 weeks. At the end of that 6-week period, if I still like you, you get to keep your job. If I don't like you, there's the door. I'm finding somebody else. Because the worst thing that I've ever done is try to take somebody that was not a quality person and turn them into a quality person. They didn't have the right ideals for the business that I was working with. I tried to get those ideals and those values put into that person, and it just doesn't work. So this idea that I'm the best at hiring people, I dropped that right quick, and I started saying, I'm the best at firing people. I'll find the problems and I'll get rid of them.
That's really interesting. In one of the businesses that I own and operate, we have a very specific system, like a process for bringing on new people.
Sure.
And it's indicative of our culture, right? In the sense that there's a structure to it, and we're attempting to do something I think that not a lot of companies do, which is I put all my marketing knowledge and all that marketing expertise behind my initial offer to an employee in the marketplace.
Sure.
And what tends to happen is because of the questions that we ask, because of the hoops that they have to jump through just to get a live interview, they wind up self-weeding themselves out quite a bit. And I'll be honest, buddy, we rarely in that company, as you know, we rarely have somebody not work out in the hiring process.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And it's not about being good at firing them, but it's about like being really thorough and making sure that the culture of the company is predominantly the reason that you buy into the person.
Sure. But in this particular conversation, a lot of places don't have that. A lot of business owners, at least the ones that I've worked with, don't have the marketing knowledge that you have, right?
Sure, so but that's
creating that system,
right?
is absolutely possible, but it takes time. I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort, and it's worth doing. It is 100% worth doing.
Totally worth doing.
The less turnover you have, the more money you keep. Right.
And that's right. And I think it's important to recognize everybody that's watching this right now that as part of the cultural process, it's about attracting the right type of person into your company. Therefore, in the interview process, in the hiring process, you have to make sure that they are the right person. You can't,
as much as you can.
Yeah, but like that's, you ask some not prodding or deep personal questions, but I like to do what if scenarios. That's one of my favorite things to do in the interview process is if they go through the questionnaire, they go through the second questionnaire, then they sit down and they talk to us. I ask a lot of what if questions because to me, they illustrate, who that person's into, what their core values are, right?
Yeah.
And that type of thing. But let's jump over to that because I mean, there's all sorts of different methods of hiring, but great people is crucial. But as you put it before, great people want progress. They want to know that they're going somewhere. So one of the things that you and I both do with the companies that we focus on is that we make sure that they have a very profound vision and mission statement for their companies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And almost more important is their values. What values does your company hold in esteem? Right? And you don't get to pick 97 of them. I mean, you've got to try and keep it to 8 or less, So what is it that matters to you? Is it making money? Because if it's making money, hey, that's great. Own it. Right?
Yeah.
If it's being charitable, own it. If it's integrity, own it. Whatever those things are, but don't be ashamed of them. These are your values, and you're going to attract it once you know your values, and you kind of have walked through the process of writing an actual mission statement that makes sense, and a vision statement that makes sense for your company, and it really, when you read it, it gives you goosebumps. That's how you know it's real. It gives you goosebumps, right? When you've got that and you've got your company values, you'll start to attract the people that you want. Start to attract the people you want, for sure. Because you're now operating with those things in mind.
Well, and that's so crucial. So when we're coaching and consulting for companies, one of the first things that Doug and I look into is making sure that company has a clear objective. Like, what is it they want to accomplish? Like, what's the top of their Kilimanjaro, as it were? Like, what's the peak they want to reach? Where's the pinnacle they want to go? Because a company without direction, like, guys, if you're watching this right now and you're like, well, I don't really have a destination for my company. I just want to get through to tomorrow. Like, I want to get through to the end
without
of the
a
month.
rudder.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, you're just going to keep circling the same thing. So you got to give yourself some direction. And that's part of the culture. Like, part of the culture of your company, if it doesn't have direction, has been that your culture is directionless. Like, let's just be honest, right? Like, if you don't have a clear idea as to where you want to take the company, well, that's indicative in your culture already. I'm just telling you right now. Like, we're taking the red pill here, right? Like, that's the flat out honesty, is that chances are your business has a floundering style culture. It's not to be critical. It's just to be honest. And if that's the case, it's okay. But now's the opportunity to fix that. So give your business some direction, because that's when the really great people, the quality people that we've talked about, they're going to come out of the woodwork and say, I can get on board with that vision. I can get on board with that destination for this company. And they're willing to stick with you. But the next part to that is these core values, because that's where leadership comes from, right? Culture has so much to do with the leadership of the business, and the leadership of the business has to have a sandbox. Like, you've got to have some rules.
So it's important here that I just interject this. When we're talking about leadership, we're talking about leaders inside the company that are not necessarily managers or have some kind of job title.
But they take their cue from you.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, they take their cue from the person who's at the top of the mountain. They take the cue from the person who's in charge, right?
It's absolutely true. Look at Apple, right? I love using this example. Apple is this amazing company, challenged the status quo. Steve Jobs is alive, and it was an amazing company. And I mean, I've known a few people that worked there. They said it was amazing to work there. Everybody had the same attitude as Steve Jobs, right? Which is, how do we make it better?
Mm-hmm.
There's no fault. There's no blame. It's just, how do we make it better? Right? Steve Jobs passed away, and I know 4 people personally that have left Apple because they said the company culture is absolute shit now.
You know, it's interesting you bring them up, because Simon Sinek talks about this a few times in his different pieces. He talks about the fact that he was at speaking gigs for both Apple and Microsoft within about 6 months of each other. And this is way back when, like this was when the iPod was out and it was a thing. So before the iPhones really took off even, right?
Fair enough.
So, and as I said, this is Simon Sinek's story. It's not mine, but I'm going to share it anyway, because it's indicative of what we're talking about here. He said that, you know, he was at the Microsoft, and I think it was Bill Glazer or whoever was running Microsoft at the time, was their whole 2-day event where he spoke at was predominantly focused on how their new MP3 player was better than the iPod. The Microsoft Zune, I think it was called. And it was better. It had better features. It had better this. This is why our product is better than Apple's, and this is why this is better than Apple's. And clearly their culture at the time was about beating Apple. Right? Like, it had nothing to do with helping outside sources. It had nothing to do with that. Their whole culture at that time was about putting out a better product than Apple. They were just in sheer competition with Apple. And about 5 or 6 months after that, I think it was that long ago, it doesn't matter, Simon Sinek's at a conference for Apple. And Apple's culture, as you said, was challenged the status quo, right? And Apple at the time was really focused on helping teachers. So they're like, use software and tools in the classroom. And so their whole 2 or 3 day conference was all about how their new products were going to help teachers. Right? They never mentioned Microsoft once. Like, it wasn't even part of the conversation. Like, it had nothing to do with it. Not even a single thing. And so Simon Sinek's getting in a car, and they're having a limo drive them back to the hotel. And he happens to be in the car with a C-suite executive from Apple. And just to tease him a little bit, he pulls the Zune out of his pocket that he got a few months before, right? Or he maybe didn't have it. Maybe he was just talking about it. And he said, you know, I've played with the new Microsoft Zune. They gave me one for free for doing their event. And I got to tell you, this thing is fantastic, and blah, 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 blah. And he starts talking about the features of it. And the C-suite executive looks over at him and says, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And Simon Sinek's point is just that, like, they didn't care. Like, it was completely irrelevant to them that for a temporary moment, Microsoft might have a better product in the marketplace. It's just, their culture was, it wasn't Their whole mantra
Their
for having a
culture,
business was not about beating Microsoft. It was irrelevant.
no, because their whole culture, Steve Jobs' idea in challenging the status quo was Microsoft's going to go out and create a product, and that's great. Let them. They'll be the first mover. That's fine. I don't care, because we're going to take that product, we're going to reverse engineer it, we're going to make it better. We're going to get second mover advantage because ours is just going to be better. Period. Full stop. That's it. I don't care about Microsoft. All I care about is that we have the best product on the market 6 months after they come out. And that's how they did business for decades.
Well, in part for sure, but there's also the fact that they didn't care if their product was better this month. You know, their 2019 release was better than the other. Like, it wasn't relevant to them. Their thing was about beating their personal best.
Yeah.
Right.
And they
weren't challenging the status quo. Well, part of it. But that they're challenging the status quo was the mantra, not just for simply how they competed in the marketplace as a large thing, but also what they did internally.
Yep.
Right. And that's what made them so great for so long. And now their raison d'etre has changed, and you can feel it in their product.
And yeah, it's just not the same.
And now we're bringing up company culture, everybody, because there is a truth to the fact that if you want to be able to have that time flexibility that we were mentioning at the beginning, like if you want to be able to go, you know what, I'm going to go for a month. My team has got this, right? They've got those things in place. A lot of us want to start with the tangibles. Oh, I got to have great systems. Oh, I've got to hire great people, or I've got to have enough money to do those things.
Those things are all true.
Is credibly true. But if you don't have the foundation, right? That's why we're starting episode number 1 today on this topic, is because if you don't have the foundation of a great culture, if you're not being a great leader inside your own company and establishing, you know, to use the term we've used, the right status quo, then all those things are going to be a house of cards.
If you build on quicksand, you know, you're not keeping your building up for long.
And that's what I've seen so many business owners do. Man, I was talking to somebody it was about 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about how they had moved to a different company, and the company previous, the lady that was running it, she felt like she had everything in place, and yet her culture was rotten. It was rotten from the inside, Doug. And she felt like she had everything in place, and she was running a multi-7-figure company, and things were just tricking along, no problem, right? She had systems in place, she had people in place, but there was a really slippery slope with her culture. You know, there was lots of back talk, there was lots of water cooler style talk, although it's not really water cooler these days without being in office spaces, but there was all sorts of this stuff going on. So the culture wasn't right. And she decided that it was time for her to take a couple months away from her business and even consider selling it. So she was at a distance from her company for a couple months. And you know what happened? Things plummeted. They absolutely cratered on her. And now she's left scrambling because some of her best people, and here's the other thing with culture, you guys, is some of her best people that were on board with her vision, they left. They left because some of the other people that were there that were given the opportunity to take more responsibility weren't the right people, and they were not playing the right way, and they were not living in a really good culture, and so they became cancerous. And when that happens, when you've got great people that are seeing what bad people can get away with in your company, those great people won't stick around.
Why would they?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, why would they? It's, you know, one of the places that I worked, you know, it was all about giving the client the best experience possible, right? That's what the foot soldiers were told.
Okay.
Right? And, you know, my direct manager was all about that until we didn't hit goal 1 month. As a unit, we didn't hit our goal 1 month. And it was okay that month. Yeah, you gave us all a pep talk. We're going to refocus. We're going to get it, da, 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 da. Month 2, we didn't hit the goal.
Okay.
And now, instead of him giving us a pep talk, he was pointing the finger of blame. Why the hell aren't you doing this? Month 3, we didn't hit the goal. Now, in month 3, four of us produced over 50% of the unit's goal. We had sold over 50% of the unit's goal. It was 12 people on the team. The other 8 could not come up with the other 50%. And instead of having a conversation with the other 8 saying, hey, like, we need to pick up some slack here, he shit on me and the other 3 people that did the 50%. Why couldn't you do more? And that was the moment that we all stopped believing in him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we didn't know was that his boss was coming down on him.
Sure. Well, that's what I was
and
gonna
hammering
say.
on him, right?
Yep.
This is where the saying shit flows downhill, right? Well, the problem is that his boss was coming down on him for not hitting goal because her boss was coming down on her.
Right.
And so even though he had this incredible set of values, his leadership style was impaired drastically because of how he was being treated by his mentor.
Sure.
And so this leadership thing, really, truly, it comes from the top down. Now, are you going to have leaders come and show up in weird places? Of course you are. I mean, we've had this conversation before. I tell you all the time, leader's going to lead. It doesn't matter what the job title is. They're going to lead, right? Yep. They're going to do the things that they need to do, and they're going to do them as well as they can do, and they're going to help everybody around them try to be successful.
Right.
That's what they do, because that's what a leader does. Now, that's a natural born leader, and there's a bunch of stuff that we could talk about that, and I don't really want to get into it, but leaders are going to lead. Oh, I unplugged myself. There we go. There we go.
Leaders will lead. Yes.
Yes. Leaders are going to lead, and it doesn't matter where they are, but these are the people that you want to keep your eyes out for if you're really trying to build a solid team. You want to empower these people to be able to do better.
So let's dive into that. So if you're developing your company culture,
yeah.
Okay. Like if this is something, so you're on here right now, you've watched us, kind of dive into this for the last 30 odd minutes. You want to develop your culture. Let's give these business owners now some tools. So one of the things that we walk people through is just a series of questions, right? A thorough series of questions as far as, what's really going on here with your company and the culture side of things, and asking yourself some important questions about how the culture is laying itself out, and how are people involved in it, who is involved in it, and what are you doing right now as the leader of your business in order to make sure to manifest that culture is really flowing properly. So here's a couple things that we want to ask. So let me read these out. So first of all, when you're looking at your culture, ask yourself, what is the leadership structure of my company? What's the actual structure? Is there myself and I have a group of team leads and then teams? Is it myself and then everybody? Is it myself and 1 or 2 other managers? And then there's the rest of the staff. Like, what's the actual leadership structure of the company? And even more importantly than just your organizational chart, asking yourself, who are my leaders? So what's the organizational structure of my company? And then after that, a second question is, who are my leaders? Because as Doug just pointed out, your leaders are going to pop up from different areas. And they may not have a leadership position, but they're setting a pace. They're setting a precedent.
Might not have a title. Yeah. They might not have a job title, but they're the one that's making sure that stuff's getting done, and whatever.
And they're setting that pace. They're setting the benchmark for the expectations.
Yeah.
And those are the types of people that if they're doing a great job of it, you need to reward them, and you need to help them and illustrate to them. And reward doesn't mean just monetary, guys. I mean recognition too, okay? But you got to help them get to that next level.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to promote them.
No,
because
not at all.
sometimes I remember one of the teams that I was building, we had this guy who was phenomenal at what he was doing. He was line cook. I was working in a kitchen, and I was trying to get the team built in the kitchen. And this kid was phenomenal. And I was like, you know what? I'm promoting him to night supervisor. I want him to be able to run the kitchen after I'm gone at night, whatever. The moment I promoted him, he walked around with a clipboard and started barking orders at people.
Right.
And it just ruined him. So when I took that promotion away and I put him back as just a line cook, he was that core center of it just meant that I needed to find somebody that was good at doing paperwork.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, I let him lead without giving him the title, but I made sure that everybody knew this is what I expect. Right? I started having him train people because he could do it. He was good at it. Right? So it's not always about giving them a promotion. Sometimes it's just about giving them the recognition and a little bit more responsibility.
Sure. And sometimes that comes with a pay bump, for sure.
Of course, sometimes, absolutely.
But it's about, so what's your organizational chart? And ultimately too, what do you want it to look like? Like not just what it is, but what do you want it to look like?
It's important to have both.
It's
important to do both. Yeah.
And then ultimately, who are the leaders in your company? And the other thing too is that if you want to shift the culture of your business, if you're watching this today and you're like, man, I need to shift the culture of my business. Like our culture is not great. Nobody does anything if I don't crack the whip. We're not hiring really well, so I'm always having to hire and then fire, then hire, then fire. If the culture is such that people are bad mouthing each other and there's just a poor team atmosphere, or nobody takes initiative, these are all culture questions. But there's going to be some people in that team of yours that do set that precedent. So it's important to get them on board with your new vision of your company, with the new culture of your company.
And if you can't, you need to get rid of them.
They got to go.
As possible.
Yeah, because they will rot things out from the underneath. And we say that with all respect, but the fact is, if they don't want to play on your team the way you're going to play, they can't play.
So Gary Vee says all the time, it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter how good your sales numbers are. It doesn't matter if you're the highest earner in his company. If your attitude is shit, you're fired.
Right.
If you can't play ball with his core values, you're not staying at his company, and he doesn't care how much money you make him.
Yep. That's very true.
Because for him, culture comes before profits.
Well, because that's what gives you the freedom, Dougie.
Absolutely.
That's what gives you the flexibility, right? Like
absolutely.
We play at this game of going, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for this. We play at this game of going, I just need to make more money. If I have enough money, I'll have the flexibility I'm looking for. It's total horse crap. That's not true, right? No. You can run multi-seven-figure businesses. You can run half a billion dollar company if you want to. You'll be strapped to that thing like a rocket ship to your ass, heading towards the sun without any way of turning it around. Yep. If you don't have great culture in your company.
More money doesn't mean less problems. More money just means bigger problems.
Different problems. And sure, some of them you can throw money at, but the fact is it won't solve culture problems. Nope. Money will never solve culture problems. If you want to trust, see, here's the thing, like, I run a 7-figure brick and mortar business, and that business needs me for about 4 to 5 hours a week. That's it. I give it a little more some weeks, a little bit less some weeks. Why? Because I trust the people that are there. Yes, we've got great systems. Yes, we've got a good hiring process. Yes, we have good profitability. Yes, we got good marketing. Yes, we have those things. But the basis of the whole thing is that I could step back and work on the business to grow it over the last 3-4 years.
But that's because I
trusted the people that were there.
You took charge of the culture of the business.
Yep.
And you eliminated the problems that were there.
As much as that was hard.
As much as that was hard.
Sure.
As much as some of those things almost broke your heart to do. And I remember you doing them. I remember those conversations, but you did them. And a couple years later, look at where you're at.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So culture is everything.
Totally. So getting back to those questions, right? Organizational chart. What's the structure of your company? Who are the leaders of your company? And where are they? And ensuring that they get on board. The other thing is making sure you have that vision statement for your gig. Man, oh man, know where you want to go. Know where you want to go.
Yep.
Fourth question, have yourself a good set of core values. If you need any help with that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll put into the comment section here a link to reach out to us if you have any questions about your core values or how to structure that. In fact, right now we're doing free 45-minute consultations. So we're giving up a 45-minute chunk of our time as a gift to you in what we call a strategy session to help polish off the dust of your company a bit here. Like blow off some of the dusty parts of your company and say, okay, where do you need help? Where is the squeaky wheel? You can tell there's squeakiness, but where exactly is it? So we're actually doing free 45-minute consultations to help business owners with that. So if that's something that you want, if you're watching this right now or on the replay and you'd love to have that, just look in the comment section. We'll put a link in there for that. So organizational chart, who are your leaders, getting them on board with you, having your vision statement for your company, having your core values as a gig. And then ultimately the next real thing that I want to ask you guys is, people love progress. If you want to keep great quality people, like Doug was talking about earlier today, if you want to keep great quality people in your business, here's one of the keys. Have an environment where they feel needed. Have an environment where they feel valuable.
Valuable. Not necessarily needed, but valuable.
Fair, valuable, right? So what's the creative work environment that you're putting in place? Like, are you open to them making suggestions? Do you have a process to make suggestions for your company? Do you have a process for evolving your company? Every week, for example, at Just About Pets, my brick and mortar business, we have a company management meeting. It's a 1-hour meeting, and 20 minutes of that meeting is dedicated just to creative problem solving. And
are you open to helping them take courses that will help expand,
that's right.
Whatever. There's lots of different things. It's not always
lots of different ways. No, but that's the thing, right? Do you have an environment in your company where creativity, where progress and growth is made a priority?
Learning, growth, creativity, depending on your business, obviously. Yeah. Right. I mean, if you're running an accounting business, maybe you don't want people being so creative.
Sure, but then you let them be creative when it comes to how to market or how to generate leads or how to attract new clients. Like, I think every single business has a need and has value to people being creative about how they can evolve the company forward.
I don't disagree.
And that's a big part of successful cultures, is that people feel like they're not just a warm body. They feel valuable. They feel like their input has meaning. And that's really important.
And, some people, it's about the people though, right? I mean, sometimes a person wants to feel like they have input. Sometimes a person wants to feel like, you know what? I make the damn trains run on time. And that's valuable. But I'm appreciated for that. Right? And I know that I'm appreciated for that. And it just depends on the person and the type of person that it is. I mean, I've worked with some people that if I ask them, hey, what do you think about this marketing idea? They'd be like, I don't know and I don't care. Sure. But I would never get rid of that. I would fire half of the team before I get rid of that guy, because that guy makes sure the damn trains run on time. I had a dishwasher one time working in the kitchens. I had a dishwasher one time. This guy, it didn't matter how bad the dish pit looked when he first walked in. Within 35 to 45 minutes, it looked great. Now, I mean, he wasn't caught up, but it looked great.
Right. It was organized, moving.
His organizational skills were second to none. In fact, I had him come and help me make line maps for the entire kitchen, right? He helped me figure out where everything should be so that it's the most functional. And we wrote out the line maps. But when I tried to promote him to a line cook, he couldn't handle the job. It was too much creativity that he couldn't do it. So we put him back in the dish pit. And basically, I said he has a dishwasher's job for life. I paid him like a sous chef. And I never, like, surfers would be like, he's an asshole. And I'd be like, you're fired. He's like, if you don't get along with him, you're done. You're not lasting here, because he was the key that made the whole damn thing run. But you couldn't give him a creative job to save his life. So sometimes it's about recognizing what you have and just understanding that they have a specialty and a niche, and taking care of them and making them feel appreciated.
Totally. I think that leads us to the final piece that we can talk about as far as cultures today is the 4-quadrant grid, right? You've probably seen this before, Doug, the 4-quadrant grid.
Yeah.
And you have got right person, wrong seat. You've got the wrong person, wrong seat, wrong person, right seat, and right person, right seat in this 4 quadrants. And everybody wants, of course, to have a team full of right person and the right seat. But that's not always life, right? But that's rarely the case. But the best thing, most important thing you got to remember is that you can easily put the wrong person in the right seat and rot your culture.
Yeah.
Right. I had that, I've had that before and had to deal with those people, and it hurt to deal with them, but they had to go. And you can, if you're looking at someone who's the wrong person and they're the wrong seat, then just get them out. But here's the thing. If you have the right person and you want to put them into the right seat, you can train them to get there sometimes. But as Doug just put it, sometimes they're just in the right seat and they're the right person, and they just deserve to be thriving in that space.
So you let them and appreciate them.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's so important. I mean, right person, wrong seat, that can get a little bit hard, because you want to find the right seat.
You move the guy up and it didn't work, so you had to take him back to the other position, right?
So you want to make sure that you're trying to constantly find, as we said in the kitchens all the time, aces in their places, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the key to having a team of right people, right seat, is being flexible enough in within yourself and your mind and your duty lists. You can flex those things to make it work for the people that you have. Let's say that you're a law firm, okay, and you've got a fairly substantial administrative staff. Well, maybe one of them is amazing at doing spreadsheets. She understands Excel better than any 10 people in the company.
Sure.
So let her do more of the Excel work. Not that she's going to do all of it, but let her do the majority of it, right? She's the go-to Excel person. My uncle uses this technique in his mechanics shop. He's got, I think, 12 mechanics that all can do everything. But one guy's really good at mechanical, fuel line stuff. One guy's really good at electrical stuff. One guy's amazing at engines. So within reason, he tries to make sure that these guys get those jobs, because they can do that job in half the time that it would take somebody else.
Yeah.
So it becomes about it being efficient. But the only way that that works is because there's somebody conducting that flow of information, right? There's somebody that's recognized, hey, this guy's good at this, this person's good at this. Most of the time, in a case where you're talking about, as administrative staff, it's, well, you're supposed to just do this, and this is what the job's always been. Okay, but maybe that person isn't great at a couple of those things, but somebody else is really good at those things.
Right.
Swap those duties around and just make it work.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's very important, but that comes down to that. Do you have a culture in your company of being a creative workspace?
Exactly.
Right.
No, 100%.
And sometimes that's about how you creatively delegate. Sometimes it's about how you creatively inspire. But that's a really big part, you guys, of having a great culture in your company is creative permission. And it's one of the first places to know if you have some insecure people in your leadership group. Because
absolutely,
they will not give permission for creativity because they're scared themselves. And therefore, they're not giving other permission for people to grow.
One of the things that, 2 points on this particular topic. When I was learning to be a personal trainer, the guy that was teaching me in the program that I took, he used to say, look, there's about 100,000 ways to slay the dragon. Your job is to find a way that works. And it's never going to be the same way for every client. You just have to find a way that works, because your job is to slay the dragon. How you did it doesn't matter so much as did you get it done? And that's very specific to personal training. Okay?
Sure.
But the point here is that we all have a dragon to slay, and how you do it matters a little less than did you get it done. So be open to having people input ideas. Ideas are great, and the more of them that you get, the more of a clear picture you can have. We have a friend, actually, who says to me all the time that his focus as a boss, as a leader in a company, is solutions. This happened. I don't care who's at fault. Fault is not something I want to discuss. What I want to discuss is, how do we make sure this never happens again, and how do we maintain the highest standards for our clients? Right? His attitude is, I don't care if you do something the way that I would do it or not. As long as if I question you on it, you can tell me, you can walk me through your thought process, and in your thought process, the welfare or the well-being of our client was top of mind. As long as your well-being is well-being of the client is top of mind, I don't care what you did. If it was wrong, we're going to have a discussion about it. We're going to discuss how we move forward, but there's never blame.
Yep, no, that's a great mantra to have. It's very much the same thing I use in my own company, which is bring me solutions, not problems.
Yeah,
right. It's
absolutely.
just really simple.
Bring me solutions, not problems.
Yeah. So I hope you guys have found this valuable. I know there's a lot of meat on the bone here. We've been going for almost 50 minutes, so there's a lot of information here to process. I hope you found good value out of this. But here's the thing: I want to reiterate those 5 really important questions. Okay, those 5 really important questions. First one, do you have a vision for your company? Right? That is beyond just getting through to tomorrow and paying my bills at the end of the quarter. Like, do you have a vision for your company? Where are you guys going? Second, who are your leaders and are they on board? Third, what are your core values? What are the core values of your company? What's it all about? Right? Fourth, do you have an organizational chart? Right? A structure to your company. People like structure, right? They like to know, who is it that I'm reporting to? Who is it that I connect with? If I have a challenge, who do I talk to? If I'm really successful, who do I talk to? They like to know what the organizational chart is. And the final piece, you're going to add some?
People need to know what the box is, so that when you ask them to think outside the box, they know what they're thinking outside of.
That's right. And number 5 is, are you soliciting a creative workspace in some way, shape, or form, a workspace of progress, right? So those are 5 really big key questions that if you're developing out your company's culture, you can riff on. Now, as I said, I hope you got great value out of this. And if you want to go a step further, my friends, if you want to take this to the next level, if you'd love to get both Doug and myself helping you specifically on your company, looking at your challenges uniquely to you and your business, then reach out to us. We're booking what we call Compass calls, which are a 15-minute quick call to figure out which one of myself or Doug would be the best consultant for you. Book out those calls, and then let's sit down and talk, because we know we can be of service to you. We know we can be of value to you in helping you establish the right culture in your company so that you can get that time, flexibility, and freedom that you've so been looking for with your business. So thank you so much for watching this today. This is our first episode of Magic Pill Mondays. Next Monday, we're going to be diving into profit. We're going to be diving into profitability and giving you some tips, some tricks, some ideas around how to make your business more profitable, and little tiny things that over the 40+ years that Doug and I have been entrepreneurs and business builders, we've picked up along the way.
It's got to be close to 50. What are you talking about, 40?
That's just because of how old you are, man. That has nothing to do with me. That's you. But we're going to be going into profitability next week. So we'll be back here on Monday of next week. But if you got great value out of this, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Monday evening. And other than that, ciao for now, my friends.
I will see you Friday.
Okay. Oh, we'll see you Friday. Yeah. For Fix Your Business Fridays. Another great feature that we have on this awesome channel. Ciao for now.
Later, guys.